The word booster, repeater, and extender are used interchangeably, but they are different. A repeater will boost your Wi-Fi without changing its SSID, that is the hotspot name. An extender will take your Wi-Fi and retransmit it in its own SSID. Booster is a general name for any device that can increase the strength of your Wi-Fi. This includes the repeater and the extender. Most routers have extender mode and repeater mode and can work as either. Welcome. In this tutorial, you will learn how to extend your router. You also learn how to manage your router and control it. When you enroll or subscribe for Fiber router, your ISP will give you a box like this. This is called router. The problem with this router is that you cannot log into it and manipulate it. Number one. Number two, it won't go far. It won't cover your house. So with this, you need to get an extender. So the essence of this training is how you can do it yourself. Get a router, Wi-Fi extender, and configure your router in such a way that you can control and manage the users. So before we get started, it's good for you to know the terminologies, to understand the technology. So this is a router. Actually, it's a router, like directing traffic, directing data, how to move. This is important in a network. Then what is a network? A network is when two or more computers are connected together. Two or more computers can be connected together so that they can share resources. The resources we share most are things like the internet. Is the most shared resources. You can share file and folders, and you can even share the power of the hardware of the computer. Our concentration now is on how to share the internet services. You've gotten a fiber and it has been delivered to you, it is working, and you want it to reach every member of your family, and you want to control which data anybody is using. This instruction is divided into three. One is the quick access, the one that will enable you to just get started. The next one will give you more power to control what you are generating, the internet. The third one is termed advanced. It gives you more power to control. You can stop at any stage. Number one is okay for you, just for you to browse and share your internet. You can stop. But if you are more inquisitive and you want to do more complex things like tracking, controlling who is using computer, share control and other ones, is where you can go to the second and last one. So if you get a router now, you have this yellow button here. So this is the local area network. In a network, the one that is within your locality, within your family, is called local area network. When you're working with other networks, like your ISP is another network, for your network to work with your local network, you need what is called wide area network. So we have port for wide area network, we have port for local area network, we have power, we have reset. This is normal with all the routers. This is just for telephones box, if you have a telephone box. So this another router. This one is Huawei. This is another router. This is D-Link. This is the one we're going to use to extend it. If you look at the ports now, you see similar things. You see the local area network, you see the LAN, and you see the reset button and WPS button. To connect your two routers, what you need to do is you first plug this cable now to any of these. They are all the same. They are usually yellow. So you plug it in. Because this is in another network, we want to use it to supply internet to our own network. The two are not on the same network. Because of that, we're going to plug it in one wide area network socket. That's the first thing we want to do. Then the next thing is to plug this network to our computer. So I'll plug in this and plug this to my computer. Then let's before then we're supposed to have plugged the power. We'll plug the power supply. So once you do this, you allow the router to come up. Then you'll see lights here. So these lights are the uplink, downlink, power, and one lights. So how we know that something is wrong is when any of them is showing red. So like now, it's saying that our one is not connected. So the next task now is for us to reset this and now configure the one. So that will be the next task. Okay. You know that computer network is a connection of two or more computers. Then we define one as the major rule of router. If you have another network like your internet or some other network somewhere, it is the router that will connect this network to your local area network. The switch distributes the network. It's through the switch that all the computers are connected together. The routers we have today they do the work of both router and switch. Let's show a demo. Okay, this is local area network. That is the work of switch. So this has how many switches? 1, 2, 3, 4, meaning that we can use wire to connect computers together from your computer to this place. Again, the routers have another facility, which is the Wi-Fi, so you can wirelessly connect to this. Then this is the main router function. Any signal that comes in here from the internet, you will get to your local area network. Then another important thing you will notice, for every computer that is in a network, any computer that is in a network must have a unique number used in identifying it. It's called IP address. The IP address is a very important concept in networking. The IP address has numbers like maybe 192. You have numbers that's maximum of 3 digits, and they have dots separates them, and they are 4 in number. Let's assume 192, 168, dots, maybe 8 dots, maybe 3. This number we've written down is the format for IP address. This area of the number is called the network address. For all the computers that are in the same network, these numbers must conform, they will be the same thing. This is the only one that will be changing. So if you have maybe 6 computers, you can start with the first computer with 3. Then the second computer will have the same address but with 4. Hence with 4. Then you have 5, you have 6. So the only changing number is this last one. In those days, you have to, it requires some skill to assign IP address to your computers. But luckily today, you don't need to worry about that. Your router will automatically assign IP address to your devices. The devices are the things you connect to the internet or to the network. They will have IP address. Another thing, your router will have IP address too. The IP address of your router is called the gateway. As you already know, it's a gateway through which your network can access another networks. So this concept is very important, that you know that your computer has an address which is dynamically assigned to it, automatically assigned to it, and again, that no two computers in a network will have the same address. This is the work of the router. It assigns the number. So let's see what we have in this system. So in my computer, I'll connect to my LAN through wireless network. It doesn't matter whether it's wireless or wired. It's just the same Ethernet protocol network. So my router is Huawei and I've connected. So how will I know the gateway IP for my router and that of my computer? So the easiest and most straightforward way is to go and type command prompt if it's not visible. Once you're in your command prompt, issue a command which is ipconfig. ipconfig. That's all. You're telling computer to configure your IP, to tell you what your IP is. So we'll have ipconfig. Okay, so this will configure my IP and I press enter. Okay, ignore all the other things it's saying. It's trying to tell you about your DNS. We'll touch DNS in advanced tutorial. Right now, the take home is that this computer has an address of 192.168.100.5. This is the address of my PC. If I have PCs hooked to the same router, all these numbers will be the same, but this 5 will be changing. You can assign 5, 6, 7. We can assign batch of IPs. We can predetermine what the router will assign. We can give it batch number, a range of number to assign to PCs. Maybe assign between 20 to 60, between 20 to 100. It will assign those numbers. Then this is subnet mask, so we won't worry about it now. What we worry about is the gateway. This is another important thing. This is the gateway. You find out that the router has given us, this is the router IP address, and it's assigned IP address that is within its own configuration. You can see that all the other numbers 192, 168, and 100 are just the same as we have it here. We have it here. What is changing is just last figure. If anything change here, the network cannot connect. So anything is assigning must be within this same network. So we'll talk about gateway now, because we'll use the address of our gateway to get to the dashboard of our router so that we can configure it. Remember that this is the ISP router, the one that the fiber optic people brought, my internet service provider. I can't do anything inside it. I can't log into it. It's their property. So it's my own now that I can now configure, and that is what we want to set up, and that is what we will use to manage our system. So I will go right away and get my router, which is the D-Link router. I will connect it physically with the wire. Remember that we've pressed the reset button. We've reset it. So we now connect it. If I connect it, the light comes up showing that it has connected. So let's do ipconfig again and see what our computer is saying. We'll have to refresh it so that we click refresh so that we know that another system has come in. So I'll click refresh here. Again, if you click here now, you find out that the router TP link is showing its presence. So this is the router here. So we go to IP config again. So if you go to command prompt, just type command prompt in the search, it will come out. Then you type IP config. Okay, an interesting thing has happened here. You'll notice that this is what we had before. It has recognized the second router. This is the one we can manipulate. And we now have the gateway IP address. That is the default gateway of the IP address. Our local computer IP address still maintains its number, which is this. So this gateway now, this IP address is what we will type into the address bar to log into the computer, to log into the router. If there are ways where you will say this, you will need a password and this gateway IP address to log into the router. This is one way of getting the IP address of the router, but it can't give you the password, default password. After you reset it, you have to use the default password to get into it. But if you look at the label on the router, if you look at the label, this is Huawei. If you look closely, you'll see the IP address and login name. So this says the password, that's the default password after you reset, and this is the IP address. You see that this number corresponds to the number we read from the IP config. So he said that the username is root, and this is what we will use to log into our ISP router. But immediately they brought it, the first thing they do is to change it so that I won't have access to it. But any alteration I make here will affect their system. So, but the one I have full control on is the TP link. This is the details of the TP link. If you look closely, what you'll notice, you'll see the password, and even the TP link I'm using does not okay, it gave the username admin and the password admin, but did not give the IP address. So another way you can get the IP address and the username, default username of your router, is to do a quick search. So here now, if we search the internet, these are information that are in public domain, so you can always see it. A quick search for the IP address, default IP address, and login details of TP link produce this, but it's giving us this. We know that it is this because we've seen it. Otherwise, you try out the two and see the one that you will use to log in. So once you get to this stage, you are ready now to log into your router and do the quick setup. So we'll go to do the setup. So what we do now is we don't want confusion on this address. This is wirelessly, it is connected wirelessly. So the first thing we'll do is we want to set it so that our router, which is the TP link, can transmit the internet from this Huawei. So what we can do now is disconnect this router, which is Huawei. So we have only one router left. Then we'll physically use wire to connect the Huawei to the opening of the TP link. Remember that it goes to the modem, to the WAN area. Then once we plug, you see that the red line is showing. This shows that something is wrong, that is not working fine. This is because we've not set it up. So the next step now is to set up to set it up. So we call up our browser, then we type the IP address of the router we want to set up, which we know that it is 192.168 because I've logged into it before. It's showing me here. So I have to select this router address. Okay, so we are inside the TP link now, and from the information we got from the internet and from the label, the login name is admin, and admin. Remember to change this immediately you log in. So we've logged in, and this is a virgin router because we actually reset the router. I'll go to the time and date, though it doesn't matter much, but it will affect your records if you forget to. I know I'm in +1, so I will select it. So I'll click next. This is the quick setup. We have quick setup, we have basic configuration, and we have the advanced. So in this section, we'll discuss quick configuration that will get us going. So here, I will click next. Now, my router has provision for a modem, which is 3G, 4G. So, these are the options that I have. I'm not interested, no more interested with the 3G. If I'm interested, I may click 3G, 4G preferred. Only use the 3G, 4G as primary access. Then 1 is the backup. So the 1 comes up only when your modem has no internet connection. Then this is 1 preferred. So it will always be on 1, but when the internet is not on 1, no internet connection, it will fall back to 3G, 4G. So what's your choice will likely be that it will be on 1 permanently. So these are the options we have. If you have reasons to select any of these options, you can. But I want to be on wide area network always. Don't fall back to the modem. Okay. So some will not be modem, some will have a provision for the SIM card. So you just put your SIM card, it will automatically fall into that if there is an interruption. You use this for double assurance in networking. If you feel that your 1 can go off sometime, you know that with this you have double assurance that when the 1 is not on, it will automatically switch to this. So you're always on network. So we go to the next one. We click next. Next is telling us about dictating about our 1. That our ISP. We prefer it to automatically dictate it since we've connected the 1 wire. So it will go search and dictate it. So it's telling us that it's a static IP address. That is what most ISP will give you. So it shows this one for us. So this is what then if we want dynamic, we said let it by dynamic. So if it change, it will change with it. I think we'll go with dynamic. So we go to the next one. Remember that dynamic means that if you change your own too. Don't be static. If you say static IP address, the address is there. Now is what it will use. If the ISP, the internet provider, change their IP address, it won't cope, it won't connect. So we go to the next one. The next is one connection type IP. Okay. Now, someone will want to monitor the MAC address of who they are supplying. Now that we are supplying another router, it may not connect to it if they check the MAC address. So you can clone the MAC address. So whatever you use to connect with the ISP, clone it and use it for the other one. So this option now is, if you choose do not clone MAC address and it starts disturbing you in Fusion, you can come to now say clone MAC address, or if you call the ISP provider, it will tell you exactly whether they want you to clone it or they want you to. So whatever happens, either of it will be okay for you. So we go to the next one. Then this, our router has wireless access and it will have password for people to log on to it. This is where you will set it. But note that after setting it, if you're using wireless, if it's wirelessly connected, you won't be able to connect to it again. You have to reset, reboot your system. But we're connected with wire, so that will not affect us. So let's call this, give it just an ISP name. We can call it YouTube Wireless or U Wireless, U Wireless. So that's what we will say in the hotspot. Then the password, for purposes of this lecture, which I don't encourage you to do, we can use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the password. In your own case, try to use a complex password so that people cannot guess it. So we say next. He said that the password has to be, enter a password with 8 to 63. So we have to continue. 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, we want it to be complex. So we say next. Okay, so these are the summary of our options. Everything is set, successfully connected. One only, time zone is here, IP address. Okay, so we can save our settings. Congratulations, we finished setting our router. This our router can now work on as an extender to extend our IP address. Remember that your wire can be as long as even up to 100 meters, or let's say more than 50 meters to the next router you want to extend it to. So with this, you can extend your Wi-Fi to a very large area. So it's from where the wire now ends that the router will now start transmitting. So people can wirelessly connect to the second router, which is this link, which we've given a name, and we call it U Wireless. We'll save our settings. You can see that our router was showing red, but now it's now sensed the internet and is setting it up. Now it has finished setting and it's showing green, so we are good to go. We click finish. Okay, so in the next lecture we'll talk about the basics and some other settings, but this all you need to do to have your wireless access extended and have the ability to control it. So if we close this now, we close this, we come here, we have this TP link now showing our wired connection. Let's remove the wired connection now. We remove it and it has disappeared here. We now have our Huawei router from our ISP. We are not using it now. We want to try out the one we just built now, and this is this. So we click connect. and we know our password is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So we click next. So we are now connected. So anybody that wants to connect to our internet can use this hotspot name and the password we've given. So this is the way we can use our router to extend the ISP router. So if we go to browse now, find out that everything will be pointing to. If you're being inquisitive, which gateway will it be showing? Let's do a check to know the gateway now. It will be telling us. Remember, the gateway is what takes it out from our network. So we go to this again and say type IP config. IP config. Okay. So right now we have only the IP config of TP link. Of course, we are not directly connected to the other network, which is the Huawei, which is the ISP. We are what we know now. It's the router, our own router. So this is how it is necessary and how it is used. So what transpires between our router and the ISP is their business. So our gateway now is this router, not the ISP router. So in the next class, we'll look at some of the advanced settings. In this section of this tutorial, we'll look at basic settings. In the first section, we were able to configure the router. So here we will log into our router. First of all, we log into the router. This is our wireless router, the one we've just set up. You can use wire to connect to the router, or you can use the wireless access to connect. So here we are using the wireless access. So with this, we are sure that we've connected to the router. The next thing is to look at the dashboard. So we'll put the IP address of the router, which is 192.168.0.1. Our login is still the default login. We advise that you change it immediately, and that is what I will show you now. So we log in with admin, then password same admin. Okay. We've finished with the quick setup. In the quick setup, we were able to go through all these steps. Now we are in basic setup. This is the map. We call it network map. Our network map is giving us the overall map of our settings. This is our ISP, which is the internet supply. This is our router. Now, wireless router. This is the modem. That's our ISP modem. That's the one, and this is the local area network. So let's see, in the internet, if you click, there's nothing. It's just telling us that the internet is on. If the internet is not connected, this will not show. Then this gives us statistics. How many computers are connected to the router wirelessly? Of course, it's only this laptop. So in your house, you will use this to know how many people that are using your router at any particular time. Then here we have wired. Do you have any wired connection? If some people have used Ethernet wire to connect to the router, it will show here too. So this will give you a map of what is going on in your system. So this, you remember, this is a modem. If you're using SIM card, that is 3G, 4G, and the router has provision for that. If it is here, if you click here to give you the details, here we don't have any connection there, so we are not getting any information. Then this is our one. It will just give us the statistics of our one. The one thing you will notice is MAC address is a very important number. Apart from the IP address, we still have MAC address. MAC stands for Media Access Control. Any device you hook into network must have MAC address. It is manufacturer's inscribed. You can't change it. So this is a very good tool in controlling what is connected to your network. If I block your MAC address from my network, nothing will make the device connect to my network. So the MAC address is a very important tool. You can change IP address of a system, you can do what you like with it, but MAC address stands MAC address. You can't change it. And for any device you're connecting to internet, they must have MAC address. And with the MAC address of any device, you can identify the manufacturer and other information about the MAC address. If you are inquisitive, you want to know more, you can copy any MAC address and ask for the interpretation of the MAC address. So we have the IP address. You note that this IP address is the IP address of our modem because we clicked here. It's not that of our TP link. This is the ISP modem because that is our gateway, and this is the IP address. It has first IP address and it has the gateway IP address, which is in conformity with this. Okay. We have wired. Then if we click here now, you see the system that is connected. You see the IP address of the system. You find out that this is in a different network than what we are having here. This is 168.0. The number assigned to it, because we said it's dynamic, give it number. It's giving it number 101, and the network is 0. While here in our one, our network is 100, and the IP address is 6. So all these are the information you can get. So we have the client. So nobody connected here. If anybody connects from here, you can get the information about the person. So this is about the map. Then let's say in the internet, it's just we here is telling us details about our 3G. We don't have 3G, 4G. Then our one, with it copied because we said it's dynamic. Once it's dynamic, it uses a dynamic host configuration protocol, DHCP, to collect any information that we require. So from there, we've collected this information from our ISP. So if you want information about your ISP, all of them are here. All these are dynamic. Don't worry about the number. Your router has assigned these numbers. So we have a wireless here. This is the information we have on our wireless router. Remember that you can always change this and the password. If you change it, click save. If you do that, carry out this operation while inside the router, you will lose access to the router. So you have to reboot the computer before you have access. It will automatically log you out because you've changed the password and the access points. You are no more, you won't have access to it anymore unless you reboot. So always note this. If you tamper with this and it goes off, know that it's doing its work. Just close it and restart it again. It will come up. We can now go to the advanced section and look at the important things in advance. As I said, once you log into your modem, you don't want an outsider or an intruder or a hacker to log into your system. Anybody know what the default address is, so they can always log in. So the first thing you will want to do is to come to the systems, click on password. Here you put the new password. We know that our old password is admin, we'll put admin. Then our new password can be anything. We can type the new password here. We do the same thing with okay, this is for the username, so we can give it a username, and here we'll give it a password. You must type in the old one before you can now type the new one and confirm. Click save, it will save it. So once you do this, anybody that wants to have access to your router will have the new details. And there are a lot of things in routers for controlling the internet with your access points. We have things like parental control, we have the DNS, where you can indicate the DNS server that will resolve your names, the domain names. Then we have facilities here to block the things you don't want, or to the MAC address you don't want, or websites you don't want. So if you are following up and you subscribe to this channel, you get more details about this. Again, you can use the link below to log to subscribe into the Udemy course, my Udemy course, which has detailed information on everything you need to know about router. And if you subscribe to these channels, you'll be getting more information about routers. Note that the routers can come in different shape, different forms, and different shapes. The key thing you have to note about the router are the things we mentioned earlier, which we will repeat here. Then the last thing we will do is to set the wireless repeater. Some routers in their settings will have a setting under internet wireless settings that they will call repeater. But here, this router call it WDS, which stands for wireless distribution system. So this is the access point mode, or repeater mode as some routers will call it. If you put this on, you'll see some settings. Here is asking you of the access points you want to repeat. That's what the language is, SSI to bridge. If you click inside this box, you find out that this is the only access point you have around here that we are logged into, and this is our fiber modem. So put it there. Then it will automatically look for the MAC address, which is this. Then the mode, you put it in auto mode. Then you need the password. Remember that when you configure this as a repeater, it will use this modem's our one SSID and its password, so you don't change, nothing changed. The major thing is that it will be extended, but to an outsider it's like only one router that is working. Note that this setting will degrade your access point, your fiber optics. It will make it slower because it will affect the bandwidth. It will use half of the data. It will be working half of the time to repeat what it received. So this is you have to note this point. If you have your way, avoid using repeater, just use extender. The repeater is easier, and you can have many repeaters in the compound, but this degradation of the internet access is the problem. Then again, you don't have to switch devices because you're connected to only one device, so you can roam around without switching from one SSID with lower signal to the one with higher one. All the SSID are pointing to our router SSID, and you can have many of these routers hooked together. So you weigh the advantages and know what you need. It's good to mention that some wireless access points have 5G and 2.4G. So here you have to select what's the one you want to use. In most cases, you leave the two, and you can log into somebody can log into any of them. The 2.4 gig has a longer range, it goes further but with narrower bandwidth. The 5G is shorter but it is faster. So all these are the information you're supposed to know, you should know. All you need to know to use your router to extend your internet. So in summary, most routers have room for to work as an extender and as an access extender and a repeater. Just note that we have specific ones that are just designed for as a repeater. They don't need much configuration. So you just buy them and you plug them in and connect them to the router. That's all the settings. So this is all about you need to know to extend and effectively use your router. Bye. Subscribe to this channel for more of these topics, or enroll with the link below for a full course on this.